Hello, my name is Raymond Karchevsky, and I am a living Christ. The message I have for you today is titled An American Who Stumbled into the Land of Oz. It is a real-life, personal message, not just the message of one man, but of all men who will not bow and scrape before tyranny, but stands as a man who is grounded in freedom. I am a 77-year-old retired California police sergeant. I have served my country in Korea, and I came home to raise a family of 2 daughters and a son. After my disability retirement from the Pacifica Police Department in the San Francisco Bay Area, I continued to serve my community for 12 years through my personal private security patrol and private investigation business. When the kids grew up and were on their own, my wife, Anita, and I sold our home and business, climbed into our motorhome, and scoured the country in search of a place for the 2 of us to spend our retirement years. Anita, my wife of 49 years, and I chose to spend the rest of our lives here in beautiful Southern Oregon. It was the icing on the cake. Great life, good kids, our needs met, beautiful surroundings, and above all, freedom. What a wonderful life. And then it happened. On September the 5th of 2002, for the first time in my 65 years, I was arrested. Let me give you some background. In 1999, I rescinded my Oregon driver license as I had begun to awaken to the changing realities of our country. Without devolving into legalese, let it just be said that in my combined 20 years in law enforcement and security, I remained as ignorant as almost everyone else who is oblivious to the truth which is hidden in plain sight, yet which few still remain incapable of seeing. What is that truth? Simply this: we Americans are mind-controlled, unwitting pawns, chattel, human resources, used, misused, abused, and exploited by those that we elect to lead us. We are constantly being reinforced by the media with the idea that we are free people. But are we really? Do you feel freedom when you probe deeply within your being? Do you know anyone whom you can honestly say is free? This so-called American grand experience called freedom affects each and every one of us. No one is exempt. Most of us have endured 12 years of academic conditioning in our public conditioning centers, our public schools. There, our beliefs are formed, our loyalties are established, our duties are delineated, and our fledgling habitual responses are reinforced. From that power-packed, peer-pressure environment, we step out into life, the great unknown. We are expected to be productive contributors to our society. Look around you. Is that so? If not, what has happened to us? Where did we take the turn away from freedom and toward the adoption of the ignoble status of obsequious slaves, those who can do naught but bow and scrape before the illusion of tyranny? Were we ever free? Or was it only a dream where we only imagined that we were free? All that occurs in the moment of creation can be traced from stillness to motion, from the subtle to the gross, from the ethereal to the material, from the slightest stirrings of consciousness to the shaping of thought, and ultimately the manifestation of one's action in his own personal world of experience. The simple fact of life is that in this intellectually constructed world that man has fashioned for himself, those who hold the gold make the rules. Those who make the rules control the mind, and those who control the mind rule the world. It is a world of satanic mind control, and the average man conforms to it, regarding it as being normal. Few can transcend their lifelong held beliefs, which have been conditioned into them by government, religious, and media sources. They do not realize that such conditioning is what has made this a hell on earth. Any wizard will tell you that, if only they had the courage to speak, to tell the truth. Unfortunately, wizards and truth don't mix. Mysticism is illusion. Truth is what is. It has always been so. It will always be so. Back to the question, are we freemen and free women living in the best country in the world, or are we merely hypnotically controlled munchkins living in the world, in the land of Oz, a land of illusion, ruled by magic-wielding, satanic-serving sorcerers who resort to hiding behind the curtain of secrecy, out of public sight, busily pulling levers, strings, and a host of other doodads, all for the express purpose of creating an intimidating image, one which strikes fear and confusion into the hearts and minds of somnambulistic munchkins, brainless scarecrows, heartless tinmen, and cowardly lions, all of which, in effect, are but fragments of a mind-controlled, intellectually depleted human being. Are not the sleeping, the brainless, heartless, and cowardly all but isolated fragments found predominantly in the makeup in the average limited thinking person? Put them all together, along with the rest of God's infinite gift of wisdom, and they make up one whole human being, an intelligent, balanced human being. How many intelligent, balanced human beings have you known in your lifetime? Let's make it easy, shall we? Can you count them on 2 hands? On 1? How many fingers? Is an intelligent, balanced human being a free soul or an unwitting slaves to the outer direction of Satanic man's law, which demands total obedience? Is the intelligent, balanced human being by nature independent or codependent? Do his or her actions and behavior engender, that is, bring together, or do they foster hate instead of the love that is one's heritage? Does the intelligent human being, the balanced human being, stand alone under the protective umbrella of the infinite as a sovereign being, or does he or she flock together in fear, commiserating in intellectually conditioned fellowship with other like-minded others who have been declared by the state as incompetent wards, infants seen in the eyes of the law? Do the intelligent live by the guiding hand of divine intelligence, or are they goaded into blind reaction through the outer directed, intimidating forces of fear and compulsion? These are questions that each must ask of yourselves. A little over 200 years ago, in this country, our predecessors fought the revolution to free us from the tyranny of the ruling monarch of England. Supposedly, we gained our freedom. But did we really? Pull back the wizard's curtain, and you will see that little has changed since the not-so-merry days of feudalistic England. There and then, serfs and slaves, the common folk of the land, were ruled by lords and masters, the elitists of the time. Although today's labels are different, the relationship remains fundamentally the same. We have not broken away from England. We merely imported it here and attached different labels to the same satanic power structure. The lawyers, the judges, the law which rules America today is still tied to the English crown. Our promised rights as a sovereign human being are being stripped away from us shortly after birth, and when our unwitting mothers sell their newly born into slavery through the birth certificate registration application, which is a contract. At that moment, a contract is struck between mother and government, wherein the mother waives her rights as mother of that child and unknowingly adopts the duty of being the custodian of the government's property, the newly born chattel, the human resource, whose future earning power can be taxed, traded upon, and used for a host of commercial transactions. How else do you think that one is held accountable for the fictitious national debt? When government owns the person whom they consider chattel, they own all that is purportedly owned by the person or chattel, the real estate, private property, the fruits of one's labor, etc. Through registration, the government holds title, while the parent holds the certificate of title. The newly born child, in law, is regarded much as a newly purchased automobile, wherein through such process of registration, the government trustee holds title, while the parent or motorist holds the certificate of title. In fact, that child is a natural-born creation of God, and no man holds title over such a living, breathing, flesh and blood, sentient, natural being. It is only Satanic law which presumes such. The same process of birth registration applies to the registration of real estate purchases. Without government holding title through the registration process, one cannot be subjected to property taxes. How else do you think government can arbitrarily seize, confiscate, foreclose upon one's lifelong hard-earned estates and property, except through their increasing bastardization of God's law? That is the law of tyranny. Look around you. What do you see occurring all around you? The simple truth is that all men are Christ's, but they suffer from amnesia. They are sovereign sons and daughters of the infinite intelligence which has created them. They are sovereign sons and daughters of that quality of intelligence which transcends the fallen from grace, satanically ruled, dualistic, intellectually based thought forms and material actions found in the intellect. The Christ is merely a simple man of truth. Nothing mystical about it. No belief is involved or required. Live in truth, and one lives in that unknowable but palpable essence of truth that man, in his feeble, satanic-ruled intellect, has named God. My experiences with the Josephine County, Oregon courts and legal system is merely a mirroring of the true nature of man and his willingness to accept corruption rather than face his fallen state of spiritual consciousness. For those who have computers and have access to the internet, you may read firsthand the experiences of one such simple man of truth and his living ordeal with the Oregon court system on arkenterprises.com. When presented with the opportunity of accepting the liberation of Christ consciousness, that is holistic awareness, or continuing with the corrupted, debased, satanic rule of the intellectually driven Barabbases of the world, which account for man's enslavement through tyranny, the rumbling cry coming from the disempowered and debased mob of the suggestible ignorant continues to be, "Give us Barabbas! Give us Barabbas!" Wake up, my brothers and sisters, before it is too late. For those of you who have the spiritual eyes to see and the ears to hear this simple message, Spread it far and wide, on and off the internet. It is time that we, amnesia-suffering sons and daughters of God, come to our senses and change our world. Thank you for your time.